Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have Amber Heard's official statement. I'm going to go and read it up here. She actually literally just tweeted this just a few moments ago, and as you guys can probably tell, number one, the internet is going wild on it, and number two, it's somewhat of a weird kind of thing to go and even see and write. Now, if you guys want to leave your thoughts and comments down below, I'm sure a lot of you guys were invested in the trial. I'm sure a lot of you guys were watching the trial. I even just made a video itself discussing on what's going on with Johnny Depp itself like a minute ago, and this is all like kind of breaking news, all up-to-date news, and just basically, well, just was kind of going up in front of here. So I want to show you guys, I want to go talk to you guys about this, and as well, man, it is just kind of a whirlwind seeing all this stuff floating around when it comes to this trial and everything. So like I said, give me your thoughts and comments down below, or leave a like on the video itself. We have all of our affiliate links down below. Let's go talk about it. So as you guys know, Amber Heard and everyone else who's been a part of the trial itself has been pretty quiet when it comes to all the news, their thoughts, their comments, and kind of the traditional courtroom sense, where if you guys are trying to go and get, all these types of verdicts, you're trying to sue someone, you're trying to go and win, you're trying to go, whatever you guys may be doing, you typically, the jury itself and people part of the case have to be very tight-lipped when it comes to social media, when it comes to talking, when it comes to like what's going on in the trial, when it comes to evidence. So this is probably the very first official good statement we've seen in quite some time for her. Now I'm going to say good in quotations. So I'm going to read this over here from Amber Heard's Twitter account, and you guys can already go and tell when there is more quote tweets, which basically means you can like show that tweet into other people's feeds, etc. You're kind of getting ratioed, and it's not a good sign in the usual internet sense. So basically, Amber Heard goes on to state this as of today. The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the mountain of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. Now, I don't want to chime into this too much, but I think we all collectively know a lot of that stuff was caught fake. A lot of the testimonies are basically just people seeming like they're reading off a script. A lot of the things that came over from Johnny Depp's side kind of seemed from people that were valid and actually had proper connections and proper human friendships with him himself, which kind of has a little bit more extra merit when everyone else who's kind of testifying for you kind of doesn't really care about what's going on at the end of the day, or it's like just your family. So, and also, and the same thing too when it comes to power and sway on that, if you have good evidence, I don't think power really matters that much. Testimonies, sure, yes, but if you have proper, good, legitimate evidence and proper, good, records and everything else, that does help out your case a lot. And if you guys were a part of the case itself in a very long sense, it just didn't really seem like it was happening. It didn't really seem like a lot of this stuff was legitimate, and it also did not really seem like Amber Heard, was being a truthful person. Now, this is based on my opinion too, but also the same opinion of the juries, which did unanimously go and vote in favor of Johnny Depp. So it's not necessarily just my take on it, it's also what people that were literally sitting there day after day and had a chance to deliberate amongst themselves would also agree. She also goes on to state, I'm even more disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback. It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could be publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. Now, this is a little more of a hot topic, obviously, so kind of take everything I say here on it with a grain of salt. This is a little bit biased and stuff like that. The course case just ended and all of that, I would never want to take away from both women or men, whoever are part of this type of, I guess just abuse in the first place. It really is, if it's for everything that we're explaining and talking about and that. And I would say this almost more so solidifies the idea that men can be victims too, which is always something that she herself specifically said and kind of somewhat taunted him on. But at the same time, I think this also kind of goes to show, and this is, I think, a good sense, that evidence and actually having support in all your statements is very important. But as well, also having evidence when you guys are actually in like the deliberation on that is also very evident. And as well as also the personal connections and basically having like a proper say of what's going on in your life and what's going on with your relationship and everything has a very valid stance. Now, as a man, obviously, it's always good for the sake for this, because typically like I'm sure you guys would always agree to, it's like a little bit on the still faux pas side for men when it comes to men and abuse. So I do want to say, at least for that, as a man, that's very nice. But at the same time too, I never want to go take away from any different future type of woman out there who has to deal with these issues or deal with abuse, spousal abuse, or anything like this, financial abuse, whatever it may be. So, well, at least in this case itself, I'm not necessarily too disappointed. I'm not necessarily too sad. Just the evidence didn't back on up. Her statements didn't make sense. She was caught in many different lies. And like I said, based on the court of law for the jury themselves, they went and proved that, well, at least their opinion, to the best of their ability, that she was the problem. And now, once again, that doesn't take away from future women and future men in this case, but I do think this will definitely have a little bit more of a refresher and relook into how a lot of these abuse victims will be seen in the future. She also goes on to saying, I believe Johnny's attorney succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issues of freedom of speech and ignore the evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK. I don't really want to time this too much. I just kind of always kept on seeing, like, I saw Amber Heard always potentially looking over at the actual jury itself, which is fine and not the biggest harp on I can go give on her, but it kind of goes to show that's a little different. She says and goes on, I'm sad I lost this case, but I am sadder still that I seem to have lost a right I thought I had as American, speak freely and openly. And now this is why I kind of don't necessarily really like this type of stuff too as well. Once again, I support people coming out. I support people with, like, you know, who have proper evidence. I support everyone who's out here in the first place too in general when it comes to life and everything out here. But at the end of the day, it's just weird. It's just a weird situation, and I really not necessarily know what to kind of go and say on this. As we read through this article, as we read through all this stuff, it's just weird. It's just a really weird thing, because yes, you can have the right to speak freely and openly. I will never want to take that away from anyone out there, and I don't think anyone ever really would as well. But at the end of the day, this was, at least in the court of law, a lot of hearsay, a lot of fake made-up things, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't right. As if you guys watched the trial, you guys probably knew. If you guys watch social media, TikToks, YouTube, and whatever, all the detectives out there, you guys would probably agree on top of that. It was just not a right situation to be in, and not a right situation to be a part of. And I will be as honest, from everything, I did watch a decent amount of it myself. I wasn't the biggest fan of everything that Amber Heard said. I think there was a lot of things that didn't make sense. I think there's a lot of testimonies that didn't really support her. I think there's a lot of just issues up the wazoo that I didn't think was a good situation for her to be in. And a lot of the times when I saw Johnny Depp, he had proper feedback. He had proper proof. He had proper mentions. He had the proper recordings. And at the end of the day, I think we'd all collectively agree on this too as well. Their relationship on both sides was bad. Their relationship and their marriage on both sides should have probably ended earlier. And now I don't want to give Johnny Depp, I think Johnny Depp's a fantastic guy. I loved his charity work. I love his movies. And I think a lot of people with a brain could agree that there was problems on both sides. And if you guys don't agree, they were literally in court for 6 weeks with evidence and recorded evidence and multiple testimonies and everything else. I would think you'd be kind of dumb if you think that both sides didn't at least have some sort of issues between themselves. But the big issue is more so in the case of abuse, in the case of defamation, and all of that, which is kind of why they were in that court in the first place. So it does stink. I'm sure Amber Heard, I don't want to give like too much of a soft heart for her, but I'm sure at this point she is devastated. I'm sure she's having an awful time. So obviously be nice as best as you possibly can up on Twitter. But I do want to say I definitely was on Team Johnny, and I'd supported a lot more of his evidence, a lot more of his arguments, a lot more of his testimonials. And at the end of the day, I do think a lot was taken away from Johnny Depp that he should have, well, in all honesty, probably never should have taken away in the first place. So I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this one. I try to be at least somewhat neutral. I gave Amber Heard a little bit of a pass, I would say, but I would try to be a little bit more on the neutral side. Give me your thoughts. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? What do you think about her statement itself? Was it weird? Was it bad? Was it whatever? Let me know in the comment section down below, and yeah, you can kind of go from there. So I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. Appreciate you guys all so much for, I guess, enjoying, and appreciate you guys all so much for even just spending time with me in the first place. I'm sure a lot more stuff will be coming out, a lot more testimonies and comments and stuff like that too as well, and we can kind of go from there. So I appreciate you guys all so much for everything. You guys are all lovely, and I'll see you guys up in the next one.